Hey everybody, welcome to Tales from a Professional Nerd, episode 27. We're going to make this part of the series of DM's tips. It's not really a series, it's just every once in a while I get something where I think that someone who runs games or game masters or dungeon masters or storytellers or whatever you want to call it, where I think that it might be useful to keep this in mind, or maybe just somebody might want to pick my brain about my process, since at this point I've put thousands of hours of dungeon mastering in over my lifetime, that I might be doing something right. I don't know. So real quick, a couple of minor things. We'll do the week in Bryan after, but in one of the last videos, one of the subscribers, a fan, I want to say it was Peter, said that because I had made something about that I would tip my hat to someone. And that I wasn't wearing a hat, and he goes, "I'd pay money to see you in a hat," or something. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, because I've been so crazy swamped today with work and real life stuff, I didn't get all cleaned up for the video, so I just threw a hat on, and I thought it was funny because I sat down and right before I hit record, I was like, Peter gets his wish. I'm wearing a hat for the video. Specifically, I'm wearing a Knocking Point hat. There's also a Knocking Point. Here we go. I'm gonna frame it. Here. No. So because I have to say so, they aren't paying for this or anything like that. Knocking Point is Stephen Amell and Andrew Harding, I think is his last name. That is their winery out in Walla Walla, Washington, and my wife and I have been members of their wine club, coffee club thing for ages. Partially because I'm a huge Stephen Amell fan, and then eventually just because I became addicted to their coffee, and we like their wine, and they do lots of really good things, like the excuse me, the F cancer movement. They do a lot of stuff with that, and they recently did a call out for wine labels. They're awesome. They do a lot of cool stuff. And I think, you know what? I don't normally, I pitch a lot of game stuff. I don't pitch a lot of real world stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and put the Knocking Point address in my in the description of the video, because they're awesome dudes, and they make awesome wine and awesome coffee and awesome products, and I'm wearing their hat. So I'm gonna plug them in the description. So we'll remind me to do that. I'm gonna write that down right now so I don't forget, because otherwise, when I go to upload this video, I will forget, because my brain is kind of puddingy because of the week in Bryan. Let's see. So let's do the week in Bryan. It's been a good week. A lot of writing, painting. Almost back to normal ish. I've been doing a little more Lyft driving, specifically late at night, and I've met a bunch of really fun people. In fact, I gave my business card to one guy because he is a student professor down at Ball State, which is only like an hour or two away from where we're at, and he was up for a tennis tournament, and we got to talking in the car, and apparently he is trying his damnedest to get his professor, whoever his like watching professor or whatever, I don't even know how that works, but whoever his boss is, he's trying to get them to do a gaming, like a course in game design, a course in game theory. And he was like, if I can get a decent amount of of speakers and whatnot to come out to the class to give it even more legitimacy, He's like, I'm more likely to turn it into something that's more than just a one semester thing. So he's got my card, and we'll see if it goes anywhere. I've talked at universities before. Come out to be a industry speaker at conventions and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. And as you all well know, I love being in front of people, and I love microphones, and the whole process is super fun. And if it helps someone get their foothold in the industry, or get someone over their fear of being a creative, I've done my job. And if I can get paid for it, double bonus bucks. Let's see what else. Excuse me. Woo. I got a bit of a cough that I can't seem to shake. I think one of the kids may have given me some kind of cold. I'm about ready to head out to Dragonfall very shortly. In fact, actually, I think I'll be in the car when this video goes live. So I'm going to head out to Dragonfall. Super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get to play some games. I didn't get all of the miniatures painted that I wanted to for Dragonfall. So there's going to be I'll have two partially painted figures in my Dark Age Force. But all of my fancy proxies and conversions and things that I wanted to show off, those are all painted. So we'll get to showboat some of that. Let's see what I've been. All of the good juju that you guys have been sending seems to have panned out, and my wife picked up a new full-time job. So awesome! Super happy about that. Not only just financially and all that kind of stuff, but it's actually she got a job that I think she's I want to say it's called like a para-educator or something along those lines. Basically it allows her to do one-on-one help with a student that requires a little more assistance to kind of stay with the flow of a regular high school. I know Natalie she always feels better when she's doing something toward helping things out. Like for instance, this week I'm gonna slight tangent, still Natalie related and helping related. She has been designing T-shirts for her website, and also for T Fury. I think it's T Fury. But she got her first Rick and Morty licensed T-shirt done and accepted, and it's now out there for people to buy. She also got. She has a bunch of T-shirts out for charity. I mean, they're also just good T-shirts, but they're specifically, they have a message about a cast member of The Walking Dead that she made these in tandem with, and it's a good program, and she's been selling a lot of T-shirts this week, and so I know it's been making her feel like we always do better and feel better when things are going the right way. So big props to that, and it's been a good week on that side of the coin. My creative side of the coin, doing all the final wrap up stuff on the Dungeon in a Box thing that I did the first draft last week. The end result seems to be really coming together. Got to see the final PDF of the spooky bonus box that I did for them, their Halloween special box, which I'm obviously excited for people to start seeing and talk about, but because I got that in PDF, and once I get the physical maps that go along with it, I am going to start running a handful of games, a little one-off. I'm going to do a couple of one-off games at my local store. My local store is Tier 1 Games here in Lafayette, Indiana, and Chris, the owner, has been have been more than kind to me, and they get all the stuff that I need, and he's got easily one of the best supplies of like painting and hobby goods, multiple companies worth of paint and washes and inks and tools and weathering pigments and special oil-based pens that bleed when you hit them with a special wash. I mean, there's a bunch of really, really cool stuff. I've taught a class. I've taught one class there so far, a painting class, and I plan to do more in the future. But Tier 1's always been very, very kind to me, and obviously I feel like I should give back as much as I can, and I am a big fan. We're talking about Dragonfall here this weekend. I'm a big fan of running one-shot games, or games where I get to see someone else's perspective on how to play this character, or if I run the same game 2 or 3 different times with different people involved, to see how they get through the different puzzles, how they deal with individual things. And so I think what I'm going to do is, as soon as I get the physical map for the spooky adventure, I'm going to plan a spooky one-off at the game store to see if I can get some people to come out, make some, I want to say it's an adventure for like 4th or 5th level characters, maybe even 3rd. I'd have to look at the PDF to see where we finally landed, and run just little 4 or 5 hour spooky one-off. I think that'll be fun, and it'll help the store out. And if I can, maybe I can get lucky and set up a camera or something along those lines and record it from the perspective of the store. We'll see how that goes. I can't promise anything, but I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then one of the other things I'm going to be doing for Tier 1, which I'm officially announcing here first, is every 2 or 3 weeks on a Thursday night, I am going to be running Shadowrun 6th World. Initially, they're going to be, I'm calling them basically contracts of the week. They're going to be little one-off games that people are going to come in, they're going to make their characters, they'll make their 6th World character with me, and I'll keep that character on hand. And if they come out to the Tier 1 conglomeration megacorp on that particular evening, or if they sign up the spot, there'll be 5 places every week, five spots. And if those seats fill up, they fill up. Wait till next week. My whole goal here is to basically make it so, like Picard, make it so I can. What's wrong with me? I'm gonna make it so the now I'm never not gonna hear that. If I say make it so, I'm always gonna hear Picard in that little tangent. Oh boy. I'm going to create the element. No, all right. So I'm going to make it so the store has this every other week event that people can sign up for. And if they want to keep coming and showing up and signing up and whatnot, they can. But I want to eventually prep the store for the official change to 6th World missions. So Shadowrun missions are. They're basically one single session events that keep track of your karma, which is experience for Shadowrun. Keep track of what items, new contracts, new friends that you've met, NPCs, that sort of thing. And it's an ongoing story that normally lasts a year, 2, 3 years. That you don't have to be there for every single session. Every session is its own individual mission in the overall arc. And so what I want to plan to do is that through these first couple months, because the word is currently, I think, the Sixth World missions don't officially begin until like July of 2020. So up until then, it's going to be basically me sort of prepping the store for these Thursday night groups and prepping the Shadowrun, the Shadowrun locals, or like the Indianapolis locals. It's only an hour away. Basically, the people who want to come play Shadowrun on an official level with one of the Shadowrun the authors and game writer, whatever. Basically, if they want to come out and play Shadowrun on a regular basis, I want to get them used to the fact that they need to sign up ahead of time. There's only going to be 5 spots. I'm not going to be like, oh, tonight I squeeze in a 6th, or, it's going to be 5 places. And if you sell, if you sign up ahead of time with tier 1, there's going to be, basically, I'm going to set it up where it's going to be 5 places, and there's going to be 2 kind of alternate seats. If we get there, if I plan on starting to run this game at 5:30, and you've signed up, I'm going to wait till 6. And if it's 6 o'clock, that person who signed up's not there, I'm going to call one of those first 2 alternates, or whatever the case may be. If they're standing there waiting for, be like, all right, sit down. If there's not any alternate, then we'll run with 4, or whatever the case may be. But I want to get people used to that structure of how to play, and also get people used to the fact that so a lot of times in role-playing, people get kind of that set in their mind that they have to do, okay, if we're playing Thursday, I'm there Thursday. If you're playing Friday, I'm there Friday. If you're I can never miss a game. And whereas that's super loyal and super awesome, when you're dealing with things like Shadowrun missions, or Pathfinder Society or Adventure League, although it's nice for you to be at every one, it's designed that you don't have to be at every one. And I want to try and get the gaming populace at tier 1 and locals to understand that that's not the case. That if they miss a session, they miss a session. They miss a mission. The rest of the team went out and did something else, or other people that the corporation knows went out and did a thing. And so that's the general idea behind what I want to set up for there at tier 1. And I'll put tier 1's contact and Facebook information in the description of this video, in case you want to keep tabs on it. Hopefully they will announce when we start doing those events, because I know it's not going to be right now. Like, it's not like, hey, next Thursday I'm doing stuff. But I'm getting myself prepped, and I'm getting them ready. All right, so that's basically all I've been doing this week. Getting ready for Dragonfall, working regular life stuff, and taking care of the family. I mean, like, it's I know that every week I do this week in Bryan, and sometimes they're more exciting than not. This particular one is I've just been working, and there you go. I wish I had something better to say that we could expand on, but just working and prepping and getting ready for more gaming down the road. So before we move into the actual rest of the episode, we're talking about the tips to make good NPCs, partially inspired by this week's t-shirt from Armor Class 10, to me, you're just an annoying NPC t-shirt that I'm currently wearing. Thank you to Armor Class 10 for supplying me with my awesome gamer t-shirts every week. Again, I'll put the address so you can get this fantastic t-shirt for yourself. Click on the things. Eventually, I'm going to figure out how to put like a link in this area here, like, and when I go, if you want this t-shirt, click here. That's what I'll do at some point. I just haven't had the extra time to mess around with how to do hyperlinks on screen and stuff. So as it is right now, you got to go into the description of the video and click it there. I hope that that's not too out of your way, and that you guys give Armor Class 10 your support. And who doesn't need more cool geek shirts? I mean, they do great stuff, and I'm super happy with the relationship that we have, and they send me cool things, and it inspires me to do cool videos like today, episode 27, DM tips, good NPCs. So this partially came up because of the t-shirt, but also came up. We were talking about Dragonfall. Me and a friend of mine were talking about Dragonfall earlier this week, and I had discussed the fact that I had made 14 player characters, fully fleshed out player characters, and one player character for myself to play in an event, and then I had all my Shadowrun NPCs ready to go. And they were like, that's insane that you're doing that, that you have all that stuff set aside for one weekend. And the question came in, do I ever, they asked me, do I ever reuse my NPCs? Do I ever kind of steal one from a game and move them over to the other? The short answer is yes. I'll occasionally grab an NPC from one game to the next if they happen to be in the same world. Obviously I don't, take one of my D&D characters and put him into Shadowrun, or take a Vampire the Masquerade character and be like, suddenly he's in Ravenloft. It doesn't gel that way, for not in my brain anyway. But if I'm running multiple games in my D&D world of Seventh Crown, or if I'm doing a Spelljammer game that could possibly stop by in Ravenloft or stop by in Dragonlance, I might have an NPC that crosses over, because especially if there's going to be players that also cross over. So a player that may have played in another one of my games, and then 6 months down the road they're playing in a different Chronicle or whatever, and they meet that same NPC and they're like, oh, especially if time has passed, or it's something's changed about that person, or if that NPC is a PC from a previous game, there's always cool reactions there. And that's at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do as a DM, is to get have the story be exciting and have people have their takeaways be this interesting moment, or this interesting interaction, or have them talk about these NPCs afterwards. So the meat of the matter is that good NPCs. This shirt is a funny to me, you're just an annoying NPC. That whole self-centered I'm a player character in the world out there is my oyster. And if you're up here talking to me, okay, yes, tell me the quest. The idea being that as a DM, I don't want this reaction. I don't want my players to, if it's somebody who I've created and I've spent time to build a plot around, or build them into something that, even if it's, just a sideline character for 1 or 2 sessions, I don't want them to think that they're just a cookie cutter, that they're a cardboard cutout of, I have been guilty of this, especially if I'm trying to move things along, where it'd be like, the barmaid who is just kind of a barmaid. I'm not going to go too deep into, describing every inch of this barmaid, if it's going to take me 20 minutes in a 5-hour game session, when the barmaid is there to take your drink order and then leave, and then maybe come back with food. Now, if one of the players decides to be like, hey, tell me more about this bar wench, or this waitress, because I want to know more about this person, then that's on them, and it's on me to quickly, come up with some details, come up with some, individual stuff that doesn't just point this person out as, oh, she's window dressing. So I think the key there is to have different different levels of NPC in your head. As a DM is almost the same way that I feel as with villains and the antagonists in a game. Your NPCs have different coding. Really, they're kind of, you've got your basic. They are the chorus. If your game is a play, they are extras. They're the guys that people went down to general casting and paid them $50 a day to stand in the back and talk. Or they might have a speaking line, and that speaking line is, we've got rabbit stew today, would you like some? Like real basic stuff. Or if somebody, I'm not expecting someone to go down and talk to the stable boy about something that happened. If I don't want that stable boy to have any information, like he's not really part of the thing, but I might give him a bone because it's a cool, the character is doing something. You don't want the character's action to be completely inept, or to completely ineffective, where they're like, they walk down to the stable, they pay the guy a couple copper pieces to all right, stable boy, tell me what happened. I'm probably going to give them at least something. It might not be related to the main plot. It might not be helpful in any way, but at least that way, if that scene isn't wasted and they don't feel like the character, that they were wasting their time. And it might give them something that they can go back to the party and back to the rest of the player characters and tell them about. Be like, hey, the stable boy told me that, this guy, he had this black horse that, no one had seen a horse like this before. That could be, somebody write that down. That could be important. It might not have anything to do with anything, but it might be something that I could build on later. A little like seed of, there's another adventuring group in town. Whatever, something. You come up with a reason to make that moment more important than just, you talk to the stable boy, he knows nothing. Because that's gonna probably not fly real well. And the person who spent the time to be like, hey, I came up with this plan and I went over to go see the stable boy, they're gonna hope that it's more than just, you talk to this kid and he knows nothing. Give him something, give him a little bit of personality. He's not a cardboard cutout. There are these kind of the cast of thousands, the chorus, the extras. And then there are what I would call like D-listers. And those are going to be like your NPCs that you've probably given them a name, Gaston the bartender. They have more than they have a name that is more than their race and role in life. That elven farmer is probably on the lowest thing. However, Roleus, the elven farmer, he's not been popped up a tier because he has a name now. It means I probably have written him down in my little notebooks. Oh, speaking of my little notebooks. So one of the things, one of the things that I do anytime I run a game is I create individual notebooks. Sometimes it's a 3-ring binder. Sometimes it's sometimes it's an individual folder with some paper in it. Most of the time it's going to be a spiral bound, full-size legal pad. And what I do is I keep a running tab of, as best I can, the NPCs that I've given names, any kind of plot attachments they might have, any specific things. Like if you were talking about Releo the elven farmer, if I tell the player characters, during their first conversation with Releo, he talks about how much he hates goblins. He hates them. They're the worst. He's like he is down for goblin genocide. They're the worst thing ever that happens to anybody. I need to write that down because if they ever come back to this place, or if they ever refer to him again, or if I ever bring him back into the story somehow, I don't want a major character point like that. I don't want to forget, because characters die, players move on. Sometimes you get a character whose their NPC background is that, or their PC's background is that they are like, super into goblins, like they're best friends, and maybe he or you go to the next level. Maybe he is a goblin, that's out here on the adventure and prowl. Suddenly now I've got this issue that if I didn't write down, if I didn't remember how that went, my players will probably remember, because they're remembering individual facets of the story. I've got to try and keep track of everything. And so those little notes on NPCs will become super useful down the road, because let's say Goblin PC meets this guy, and I'm acting normal. Like I'm just all right, talking to the NPCs, talking to the PCs, talking about the state of my livestock or whatever. And if as soon as one of those characters or one of those players remembers that Ruleo hated goblins, he's going to pull somebody aside and be like, hey, he's acting weird. Because, he loathed goblins. And he is super on board with, Sunset here. Mr. Francisco, they get along just great. And that's messed up. He must not be him. Maybe he's a shapeshifter. And now suddenly you've got a whole other side plot that you never planned on because you forgot a facet of one of your NPCs. And that goes with any NPC, anything that you do. The more important that those NPCs are, the more you script into them, the more you describe them, the more you plot for them, the more you need to keep track of those things and make it constant. Make it part of the character. You don't want your players to meet a new guy and then go, okay, that's weird. That's not the same guy. There's something's off. Because player characters are notoriously paranoid. Like they are. And anybody who plays D&D will tell you this, that player characters will have no problem spending 2 hours discussing the ins and outs of whether or not this guy is telling the truth, or if he's a spy, or if he works for the bad guy, or if this is going to be a trap, and then spend 5 minutes actually enacting the next, like the most dangerous thing that could possibly happen to them, because they've thought about it for so long. And it's very possible for some of the facets of your NPCs to get lost in the shuffle, because that can be a problem. So you want to make sure that your NPCs stay relevant to their own interests. That they if you've written this guy as horribly prejudiced against a particular race, or you write this guy as a devout member of a particular faith, or in some cases, because this has happened before, if I don't remember to write down the species of an NPC, especially in a game like D&D where there can be 40 different humanoids walking around in a town, I've messed things up before where like I'll have this guy talking to somebody and they'll be like, oh yeah, so what's his reaction as a tiefling? What does he view of our super holy paladin guy? And I'm like, as a tiefling, because if I forgot to write that down, guess what? In my brain, if I didn't write anything down, he's probably human. Whatever the standard thing. So my notes for my NPCs tend to specifically say who they are as well, or what they are as well. But yeah, like I think that the biggest tip for making good NPCs is I've mentioned it before that I run D&D. I run my role-playing games like they're TV shows. That every session is effectively like one episode of a TV show, or one volume in a comic book or whatever. And if they're characters that are good enough to be more than just walk-ons, if they're going to be deeper NPCs, I want to make sure that their time on screen is not wasted. And I want to make sure that their time on screen is memorable. So I want my players to, after the game is over, or when they're in downtime, or when they're like they've whisked off to the tavern to discuss the plan, is they should have every reason and every tool to be able to talk about those NPCs with each other and not get themselves confused, not lose the details along the way, and also not immediately think that every single NPC out there is integral to the overall plot. Because that, in and of itself, is not terribly realistic. It is one of the things that I think is a weakness for a lot of starting dungeon masters and game masters, is that every single person that the party meets is relevant to the greater story. That whatever thing that you're trying to accomplish, whatever major plot, that everybody who you run into that has a name is part of it. And that's not very realistic. And I know that's weird to say, to talk about realism in a game about trolls and orcs and dragons and things. But suspension of disbelief, I can't imagine, if I read a series of novels, and absolutely every single person that had a capitalized name that we talk, more than just a pronoun, that you talk to had to do with the big bad at the end, or the greater arc, or the greater story, instead of a side plot, or instead of something cool that I'm building for the next series of books, or basically just setting a realistic, creating a realistic setting, requires those kinds of NPCs. So it's not just a bunch of carving, like cardboard cutouts dancing around on Home Alone strings in the background. Like, that there is a certain amount of that. You don't want to give a personality to every single sentient being that your characters are going to cross, but you do want to make sure that it feels real to them, that the story feels like it flows the way it's supposed to, and that there isn't going to be this guy's got 3 names. He's a Herman von Schnept. Well, obviously, he's a bad guy, because every von Schnept that we've met has been, every character we've met with has 3 names. They're always part of the main villainy. You got to break your own mold too. You got, if you get caught if your player characters are catching your plots because of your writing structure and how you've built things and the patterns that you've built, time to switch it up. Time to mix it up a little bit, because otherwise your players will start not only getting kind of bored, but they will start jumping the gun on your game, and you will lose any amount of plot control, because the plots that you have written are easily they're seen from a mile away. They're easily adjusted, easily made askew by player choices and actions. So I think good NPCs they can run the gamut. You could have a good NPC that characters only meet once. But he strikes them as a particular, like that. It's that the guy on the docks that they ask for directions when their ship pulls in, and they meet the guy, and he's missing a leg and he's missing a hand. He's got a peg leg and a terrible brass blunt hook on his arm. And when he points down the street to give him directions, the exposed arm is covered in piranha bites, little tiny scars. Give the characters, be like, hey, all right, everybody, give me a survival test. Oh, okay. 15s or higher, you realize that all those little bites on his arm were made by small fish. Like just little bits. Doesn't make this character necessarily important, but it makes him important to the moment, important to the setting and the feel of what's going on, because now the player characters have just immediately, they already had an opinion of him because of the peg leg and the hook, but now they have that little extra bit that not only, could he be a pirate? Sure, he could be a pirate. He could be a lifelong sailor, or he could have been somebody who lost his arm and leg and possibly more looking at the scars to set a thing of devilfish in the river, like a swarm of some kind, not some long distance ocean pirate that I've got a hook for a hand. There, it raises questions. It possibly could create conversation, or it could just be window dressing, a setting. You've got this guy that's sitting on the dock that's giving people out directions. Maybe throw a couple of coppers in his can. But either way, he has served his purpose. If it's not important to you that the docs have personality, or that the player characters meet someone interesting at that moment, when the player characters say, all right, well, we ask for directions, you don't necessarily as a DM need to ask who. You can just be like, all right, cool. You make an investigation roll, make a persuasion roll, you ask for directions, you get your directions. You don't have to create an NPC for everything, but if you do, make sure that you make them believable in the paradigm that you've created. Same instance. Group of player characters get off the docks and they get ready to ask for directions, and I describe this character as a 90-year-old 90-year-old man that looks like he's barely awake. They're probably going to have a completely different view on things based off of who they interacted with just now. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in some of those window dressing characters because it allows you to steer a situation. You show a guy in the street beating workers, and immediately the player characters will know, oh, this city has some draconian laws based off of how you can treat your workers, if they're even workers. Maybe they're slaves. Who knows what's going on? Or the city doesn't have that, and now as soon as you as player characters bring it up to someone and go, man, there's that guy who was just wailing on that old man over by the blacksmith shops where they were loading boxes. He was just wailing on that guy. And you suddenly now get the idea that, oh, it's not legal. The people you're talking to are like, oh man, that's awful. I can't believe they'd treat their servants that way. That now you've got an opinion of that dude, that worker or the workmaster that you saw. You now know that he's more on the spectrum of doing bad things, bucking against the system. And it gives you, again, it's all about window dressing. It's all about giving the players enough to deal with and enough to work with so they can hopefully further the plot along or figure out where the next step is, that sort of thing. Those are going to be your got a little tangent there. Those are going to be what I consider to be like your main body of NPCs. They probably have a name. They probably have a note written in my notebook, and maybe a line or two of text to remind me what has happened with them. Those are also, in my opinion, the most likely NPCs that I'm going to kill for dramatic reasons. Never going to be, yeah, you could kill off a barmaid and be like, oh, murder in the streets. But for the most part, if I want the player characters to actually give a damn about what's going on, I'm gonna mess with that up and coming character, the one that they met long enough to know he's got a cottage outside of town and a couple of kids. That guy who runs the carriage and says, it's been long nights these days. The weather's been bad, and I've had to run this carriage service a lot more just to make sure that I can keep shoes on my feet. Things that can get people thinking about stuff. The next type of NPC that steps up from there, in my opinion, are going to be your NPCs that are the movers and shakers. The people that your player characters are probably going to come back to, or in some cases travel with them. These are where your add-on necessities come from. Now, I am very fortunate that most of the people who play in my games, and most of my local groups are large enough that I don't feel that the gaming groups have any major deficits. But I do know a lot of times D&D groups, players get together and go, okay, I want to play a fighter. You should play a healer. You should play a wizard of some kind. And we need somebody to try and like deal with animals and traps and stuff. And what that does is it creates a very well-rounded party, very well balanced, and everybody's happy. But as time progresses, and a lot of veteran gamers don't want to fall into that stereotype of we've got the fighter, we've got the, and I'm going to reveal something that Bryan hates, loathes it. It kills me every time a role player does this. And I know that it's just me being old, is when someone's like, oh, I'm playing the tank, or oh, you're the damage output guy, or the it's one thing to say the healer, that's fine, but when someone's like, oh, you're damage mitigation, like it's not that they're talking about your role as a character. They're not saying, hey, you're the fighter, or you're a barbarian, or where even then that's sometimes a little too meta for me, when the players are using like video game MMO or tower defense terminology for their role-playing characters. Makes me crazy, because the role player in me wants to strangle the roll players out there that don't care about their characters. They're just numbers on a page. And all this matters to me is I'm the tank. I have the most hit points and the highest armor class. I'm here to absorb to take all the heat from everybody, and so the striker can come in and do his job, or whatever you've got nicknamed for your characters as their special fancy D&D role. That makes me crazy. And in the case of a lot of those groups that require people to have one fighter, one thief, one mage, one divine spellcaster of some kind, or whatever, is if they don't have enough players, sometimes they will rely on the game master to give them, in order to make their game as tight as possible, or their group as tight as they believe it should be, is they give them an NPC that fills that role, Bob the Wizard or whatever. And I do not care for that. NPCs should not be the ones that are solving the problems. NPCs can be there to help, and you can make an NPC that fights. Make an NPC that's a Billy Badass, that runs in and just Cuisinarts everybody. But if it ends up becoming the show or the fight or the conflicts or the scenes become the player characters looking at the NPC going, all right, well, you obviously can take care of this. Why don't you take care of this? Then as a DM, you've lost your players, because they no longer care about what their characters are doing. They just care about getting through the obstacles and getting through the end. And you've given them this extra NPC guy. You've given them the skillo robot that they'll take care of it, and that's not okay either. So you got to find that happy medium place where your NPCs are capable of doing things, capable of running around with the player characters, but not necessarily solving all the problems and winning all the fights for them. Because again, that would get, if you eliminate the challenge out of a game, if the player characters have no fear of failure, you might as well not be playing a game and just write a story. Just have the players all write down what they do, and then you compile it together and get together once a week and say, this is what our characters have done. Pip pip. And that's not gonna fly. That shouldn't come together that way. And the NPCs of that level are more likely to be asked to do things. They are going to be the ones that hang out with the player characters or invite them into their home or come stay at my castle or whatever. So you might, as a DM, have to deal with the fact that as you fleshed out your NPCs just a little bit more and given them powers and given them magic items that or special skills or special access to things, that the player characters are gonna realistically ask them if they become friends, if they become close, they might look at them and go, hey, you've got this castle and we've got these orcs that are chasing us. Do you mind if we hold up in your castle for a week, and when the orcs show up, we shower the hell out of them with catapult stones? Or in some cases, they make friends with like a local priest, a higher level divine spellcaster than they've got, and now you get the characters that are like, hey, Jethro here lost his arm in the fight against the nasty assassins. You obviously are a high enough spellcaster that you might be able to regenerate his arm. Can you do that for us? And where there is nothing wrong with having an NPC help out, and there's nothing wrong with having an NPC do things that the player's characters can't do occasionally, it shouldn't be a crutch. It shouldn't be we can always go ask Father Ted if he can regenerate Jethro's arm. So yeah, he's fine. Just cap it off, and we'll be okay. Because you don't want as a game master, you don't want your NPCs to outshine the PCs. Maybe occasionally, if you're trying to point out just how cool this NPC is at something, or just how integral to his plotline that particular skill happens to be. But don't make it a constant where it's just the player characters are here to blow their whistle and get the assistant NPCs to show up and do all the work, because that's not going to help them either. It's going to be awfully boring. If you give your NPCs specific magic items or specific weapons or armor or things like that, and then somewhere along the lines they meet their end, they die in battle or narrative or whatever, you might have player characters that are like, that amazing sword that he used to cut the redwoods down with, we should get that, and we should go get it, and we should keep it, and his family loves us, and we're already in charge of the burial because we said we were going to be the best pallbearers there are. Whatever happens to be the circumstance, because now suddenly you've got this item that you might have not really planned on ever being in player characters' hands, with no reason not to be, and then that can definitely throw the balance of your game off if you weren't expecting that. So yeah, those types of NPCs, you want to flesh them out. You want them to be as real as a player character, basically as real as a player character, but keep a little bit of figurativeness and a little bit of mystery to them, because you don't want them to become as a DM, your character. You don't want them to, the player characters to think, oh, my DM's running a guy and he's amazing. That's not the case. Your DM is running all of the guys, and this one happens to shine a little bit at that moment. So you got to keep that in mind. And then I think the last type of NPC that can be the most problematic are the plot devices. The full on, the only reason this guy exists is because I need him to be kidnapped, or I need him to be killed spectacularly to get the player characters all ruffled up for revenge, or the NPC that they meet and is going to turn out to be a villain, like the super important NPCs. And those NPCs are absolutely 100% important to your game. And sometimes the player characters will recognize that. They'll realize that the players will go, "Oh, okay, this is the this is the mega NPC. This is the big good guy, or this is the big bad guy, or whatever, however that needs to come together." They'll realize that they're crazy important, and in some games, some players might realize that and then take that as a challenge of, okay, well then let's mess with this guy. Let's if I think this dude's going to be the ultimate bad guy, let's deal with him now while he's still low level before he has his 5-headed dragon or whatever. And I think that the end result of those characters is you need them to feel important. You need them to feel protected without being heavy-handed with the Deus Ex Machina. And what I mean by that is, if that player character is going to, or if that NPC is going to get whisked away, that's awesome. Like save him at the last minute, or just have it completely happen off camera. Like if the battle ensues at around round 3, you tell one of the players, "Hey, make a perception check." Oh, you didn't get it? Oh, all right, cool. You don't notice that the Duke is missing. He was here at the beginning of the fight, but he's not there now. Or you did notice, the princess scooted. She whisked herself out the back. In the middle of the fight, are you going to chase her? Again, important plot NPCs that are really going to, it's almost a step back from the third NPCs that are very much you give them stats, you give them powers, you give them equipment, you give them these are the things that they can do because they're going to be involved with the mechanical side of things. They're going to help the help or hinder the player characters very specifically. These super plot NPCs, these kind of higher end people, they almost don't need stats. They almost don't need to have that extra level of detail, because you're going to be 90% of the time describing them narratively. What they're doing is going to be, this is what they're doing 1,000 feet away from you on a balcony, or this is what they're doing right before the dragon sweeps into the courtyard and starts squashing people. Like they're not going to, you're not going to see the player characters go up to the princess and be like, "Hey, I saw you had a ring that shot magic missiles. Can I have it?" Like that's not going to happen. You're just not going to let those scenes really sort of take place. And those top end NPCs, the ones that are the plot movers, the shakers, those guys, you are going to end up making sure that they do whatever they can to fill the role that you need them to, without becoming a distraction or without becoming a problem to the plot itself. Because again, you're writing this story. The player characters are helping you with their different parts and aspects of it, but these NPCs, these kind of super high end fellas and ladies, they're going to be, and monsters as the case may be, they're going to be almost kind of like your plot pushing moments, and getting the player characters that next thing, that next set of adventures, or that next scene, or rewarding them with a particular thing or whatnot, or getting them inspired to go and deal with this guy because he got away again. I'm not saying don't be ready to have them have equivalent stats like in your head or like scribbled down somewhere, just that you probably shouldn't need them. But again, player characters will surprise you. Players will surprise you, and you might not expect 20 games into a chronicle, and your big bad super plot NPC is about ready to make his exit stage left, and your character goes, one of your player characters goes, "All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and break the glass vial that you gave me in session 4 that allows me to, teleport to anywhere where I can see. And you go, oh, because now you're caught in a situation where either you say it doesn't work, and then you're a jerk. You're a jerk you're a jerk DM because this cool thing that you gave your player characters and it was, snake oil, or you let it happen and now you got to think real hard on the fly. How is this NPC going to either get away or deal with the situation without just narratively just murdering the NPC or the PC that's getting involved? And that also that would cause issues because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your plot is what's staying intact. And player characters are real good at getting things, side railed. You're getting derailing into aspects that you're not expecting to go. And these big bad or big good NPCs, these kind of top tier NPCs, they need to be believable. So whatever role you've given them, they need to be able to do things associated to that role. But you don't have to look at your player characters and go, oh, this is the level 19 Archmage. You don't need to be that specific, but you do need to have at least in your head that he's around a level 19 wizard. So this is roughly what I think what I want to be able to do. If you want, you could stat him out if it is that helpful to you. But if he's that important to the overall plot, statting him out also means that now he's vulnerable to other rules type things. The second that a player character stats out their big bad villain and they're not malleable, they don't change, this is what the villain is, this is what he does, this is how amazing he is or whatnot. The second that you have that out there in the world, the player characters can use that to basically prep themselves to be able to murder this guy or deal with him indefinitely or whatever that situation is. It's a way for them to understand too much about somebody and then kind of break the meta and twist everything around before you get the opportunity to show what you had planned with that NPC, with the story. So yeah, I guess we're just popping over an hour, so I think we can probably get close to wrapping it up. But my big thing as a DM who's run thousands of hours worth of game in multiple different games, genres, audiences, states, countries, the big takeaway here is you want your NPCs to be believable and not laughable, unless you want them to be comedic. But then you can make them comedic and able to be laughed at without being the butt of some joke. You can make a comic relief NPC and not have it be the slapstick every time, oh, here he is again. You can add those elements to a character and don't make him be personified by them. Unless that's the kind of game that you're running. And if that's the case, then it goes hand in hand in your plot, and then all of that comes together nicely. The big thing with NPCs, in my opinion, to make them good NPCs, and I don't mean good alignment, and I don't mean good as in useful and structured and built correctly. I mean good as in a good fit for any game. Is think of how long they are going to be involved in the plot, whether it is a side plot or whether it is the overarching plot. Figure out how long that NPC is probably going to be in that limelight in some fashion, and even if it's off stage, how often are they going to be talking about him? Were the player characters going to bring this person up every session? Is it going to be we only bring this person up when we go to the capital city, or are there going to be player characters that go, man, I wish this person was here, we could really use his fish hooks or whatever. depending on how much attention they are going to be getting from your players, from your plot, give them an equal amount of attention before they've ever seen the page. Write down those little extra quirks, the any special items that they might have, all the way down to eventually, if you want to make an actual character sheet for some of these NPCs, you should, flesh them out as much as you can, or as much as you need to anyway. And at the end of the day, don't be afraid to basically introduce NPCs that are new and different, just as much as having NPCs that are the trope, that are the basic, the drunken alley cat, like the old pirate on the dock, some of those stereotypes, some of those tropes exist for a reason. Not every character you build needs to break the mold. Sometimes you could have a really, really cool character who is just, he's the barbarian Conan archetype, roll with it. Sometimes if it creates a good plot and it creates good gaming around the existence of this creature, then it's a good NPC. And that's really the takeaway is, if you're playing if you're playing more of a hack and slash, we don't really talk much about the storyline other than we need to travel further south into the dungeon and kill more monsters, then your NPCs can be pretty cut and dry and basic. You don't need to go real deep because your player characters probably don't care. If you run in a Vampire the Masquerade game where combat is pretty far and few between, and most of what you're doing is like social interactions and investigations and dealing with people, then yeah, those characters that you're dealing with are gonna need to have those skills. They're gonna need to be able to socially interact, because otherwise your scene is gonna be, hey, we go to see this guy and he says, yep, nope, I like blood, all right then, see you later. And that's not gonna help the feel of your game. If your game was, up until they met that guy, actually pretty social and actually pretty in depth on the descriptions and things, and you got to see some cool character interactions, and then suddenly they meet this guy that you don't have ready, and he's just one word answers and may have well been just like torn out of the extras book. Your players are going to know that, and they're going to note that, and that's going to change how they feel about the rest of the game. So yeah, DM tip: good NPCs are created based off of how you need them, how much you need them, and whether or not they fit the game the game plot and arc and story that you are putting them in. I hope that you guys learned something today or reinforced something you already knew, and can go to your games. If you're a player, recognize the hard work that your DM is putting in to make some of his or her NPCs something cool. If you are the DM, put a little extra love into some of your NPCs and see if your player characters react, or your players react well. But at the end of the day, the best thing I can say, and how I view pretty much everything, is especially I'm heading out to Dragonfall shortly, so I'll be doing this. But I think you guys, we'll see you in a week, and make sure you get out there and play some games.